Welcome to the Umami Podcast.
This is GgongChiJjim, so it's like the canned tuna. Canned mackerel.
Oh, okay. Canned mackerel. That would be the fish you use.
So it's like Korea had a lot of like canned food because of the war, and so this was kind of like something my grandmother would make a lot, like canned fish. And it would have kimchi as well, but we don't have kimchi, so.
Wow, that is so good.
Wowzers. Yeah.
Does it need salt?
I think it's perfect.
For me, I'm fine.
How is it?
So good.
These are like real Korean flavors.
It's wild because I saw you cook canned mackerel? But it like, you would never know it came from a can. Like,
Listen, I love Lucky Star.
yo.
Yeah. I've never had mackerel before, so I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Well, I wouldn't know. But I have a lot of nostalgia with like Lucky Star because like I grew up having this as well.
And I think that's a beautiful thing about this dish particularly is because of that canned fish that people have a lot of nostalgia with, both in my culture and also in in a South African context.
100%.
You see.
It's good.
So would you add like, typically, what kind of extra veggies do you add with this? Like,
You have the napa cabbage because of the kimchi, which would have added. So it's basically like kimchi stew, but
kimchi jjigae.
kimchi jjigae, but with the fish and stuff. But it's slightly different. It's more like a steam. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Do you make this regularly?
I actually made it beginning of the week, this week. Just because it's easy, like you just need the radish, the seasoning, and then your protein. And this fish is also so good for like your skin.
100%.
Omegas.
Yeah, omega 3s, I think. Yeah.
When we asked you actually to do this, was this what you thought of immediately? No.
At first I was gonna do something like, I don't know, like a seaweed soup or like, other stuff, but this was like the thing that was easiest for me to just do without thinking, because like, I think the easiness of the dish, because like, how do I say, when my grandmother was making it, it's convenient. And it's not something that will require too much time and effort in a lot of dishes. And I think just because like right now, everyone's in burnout mode. Just need something like quick and simple.
100%. Yeah.
So did you live with your grandmother?
Chew.
Yeah.
I only got to like visit her once a year. And I think, I tell this to Zach a lot, but like that's how I think I became attracted to food, because it became a form of communication. Because my Korean is okay. It's not fantastic, but it's okay. But because I can't like, communicate the way I would do in English, I think food became a point of connection for my grandparents and me. And a way for them to say like they love you or they care about you.
100%. Agree with
And
that.
did you learn how to cook from them? Like this meal, for example?
So I think there's the other thing I was telling Beefstock Jones. Sorry, Babalo.
Outed.
I'm taking my time with this.
I followed the flavors. Like my grandmother didn't exactly teach me, but I remember like what she used, the ingredients she used, the flavors of it, and then I'll also have to find my own recipes and then kind of go with how I feel. So she didn't exactly teach me, but there were things that I remember seeing, or just the fact that she cooked it, I think, is a way for me to think about her. It's so warm to be able to do this, because it's also, you know, growing up, I felt really insecure about my food. I'd be like, I don't know if, but with you guys, there's such an openness, and I think that curiosity means a lot to me. And unless I know someone is curious, I won't open up my heart in that way. Just, I think it's like, you know, you don't want to get hurt and stuff, and I'm sensitive. But
same WhatsApp group.
Yeah. The food journey, I think you guys honestly have been a big inspiration behind that, like community.
Wow.
Because it's such a big part of eating, you know, to eat together, to break bread together, to share a meal together. Oh, in Korean, so kajok means family, and I think if you look into the Chinese characters, it's like has something to do with eating together, becoming family. So when you eat together, you become family.
Wow.
Yeah, so the food journey since then, I don't know. What was your question?
It was an expansive question.
You are speaking into the question. Maybe your journey, even just like with your life growing up in Kenya or being there, and like you said when we started this meal, you said you work with what you have, right? If you're contextualizing your ingredients.
Yeah.
So how has this looked like with you figuring out your place, particularly with food, and what would be available to you?
Even then, to answer that question, it goes back to community, because I was telling Beefstock Jones.
Beefstock Jones, bro, you must just come here.
I was telling Pawalo that in order for me to make certain dishes, again, I need to look to, for example, the daikon radish, I have to go to a Chinese store to get it. And then to get, you know, the Lucky Star, I'm going to go to South African, you know, the Woolies or the Checkers or the... But I think more now specifically with the daikon radish or ingredients like that, you need to go to migrant spaces where even outside of myself, like as a Korean person going to a Chinese store, if I were to want to cook like a Kenyan dish, I'd go to a Congolese like grocer, what are they called? The thing called?
I feel like I know what you're trying to say. What's that name? Like you mean a corner shop? Is there a name for that?
Just
a Congolese corner shop,
or like a Nigerian grocery store, or like you know, and even beyond myself, if someone from the African continent wanted to get a certain ingredient, they'd have to go to another country store that is not their country, but they share the same ingredient. So same with like the Chinese, and so at the end of the day, we still have that interconnectedness. So I think, to answer your question, how my journey has been, it's been always connecting back to people and how we connect to each other.
100%.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That is such a good point. I source a lot of ingredients from a Nigerian shop in Mumbai. Yeah, and we just have such similar ingredients. And also going there usually, and then speaking to like the cashier, and like you just get to know a little bit more about them. Yeah, and that's just like beautiful. Like if I go back home now, which is Cameroon, then I'm like, oh, I know a little bit more about Nigeria because I've been here in South Africa, which is further away. But it's like there's that connection.
100%. Yeah, and it's so beautiful to be able to connect and understand that we are more than just what we think. You know, so then comes the whole chat about authenticity and what does it mean for something to be authentic. If I'm making a Korean dish, but then it's a Lucky Star can with a daikon radish from a Chinese store. The onion seeds are, I don't know, from somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Kenya.
Yes.
Do you ever make like Kenyan cuisine?
Yeah.
What do you make?
I'll make like pilau sometimes.
Make pilau.
Yes. I also love pilau.
What is that? What is? I mean, I think but
You
what-
know, so I hope the Nigerians and Ghanaians
It's
don't
fine.
come for me. But pilau is also elite. Like people say jollof rice, but
And the
pilau.
Cameroonians as well.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. The Cameroonians are also part of this. But pilau has like, it's like. Now I'm gonna bring, if I say it's like biryani, and then people are also gonna come for me from like the Southeast Asian side. But it's like, it's this flavorful rice that has like a lot of earthy tones, and like you have your beef, or you can also make it a vegan vibe. But pilau is also pilau is my favorites. Or like my fave was sukuma wiki, which is like collard greens, and you just fry that with tomato, or like with your beef, your onions, and the collard greens. You can add garlic. I know a lot of Korean dishes adds a lot of garlic. I'm a garlic girl through and through. But in that dish, I think the garlic can be a bit strong, and you need the collard greens. We need to shine. So, anyways, and again, to find collard greens like that, last time I went, the person selling it was from Zimbabwe. You know, so
Vibes.
yeah.
That's cool. I have to hold myself back. So with that, even because I feel like I always feel like I'm qualified to make specific dishes, like if it's Korean cuisine. I generally feel a lot more unqualified because I'm like, there's a certain technique, there's certain spices that you need,
Right.
there's a certain taste of flavor profile. There's a lot of complexity with those kinds of meals that intimidate me. Like when we were trying to make the kimchi, trial and error, you're never quite sure. But I know is that you would always be like, but let's use the stuff we have here, right? Like let's whatever. But there is this kind of like idea that the purer something is, or closely related it is to the original, the better, or like, you know,
Right.
or the well executed it has been. So hearing you say this makes me feel a lot more like, okay.
Yeah.
This is also faithful to who you are, though. Like, because for me,
Ooh, faithful to who you are is such a bar.
Dropping gems.
okay, you two reflecting together, you reflecting. I mean, you like this continent is your home, and different places on this continent, and then Thami, Korea's been your home, and then you two like talking about being, that was just a really interesting back and forth. But I don't know. I think I just following your foodiness on Instagram, you see how much like food from this continent is something that you just savor and enjoy and make, and that it's intermingled with what you cook.
100%. And my Instagram handle is Afro-Asian. It's like Africa, Asia together. And it's not really, I'm not trying to say like I'm African and Asian. No, it's more like the culture and the mentality, or like the backgrounds in which I was raised, that I always try to blend together to understand the world and connect to different parts of myself. Because, you know, I am Korean. Ethnically, I am Korean, but I didn't grow up in Korea. Also, what does that mean for me? But I grew up and then I grew up in Kenya, but I'm not Kenyan. Now living in South Africa, but I'm not South African. But then also my accent is just like, what's going on? Like, you said, and so I think with that, the name that I have is because I see a lot of similarities within African and Asian cultures.
100%.
Yeah, and we were speaking about this, like there's so many connections, and I think, you know, obviously there is that colonial narrative where it's like divide and conquer, which I think also a lot of Korean communities also perpetuate, which is sad. but at the end of the day, there's so many connections that exist between African and Asian communities.
100%.
Yeah, and it's so important to speak about.
Yeah. Yep.
But you can speak more about that too, because you lived in Korea as well.
No, I agree. I think one of the things is the community thing. The eating together. When you mentioned that initially, I was like, when I went to Korea and I was scouting, I haven't shared the story, but I was scouting restaurants. Maybe it was because I was in a small city, but wherever I went, most of the restaurants were tailored for families. So it's very rare that you'd find a place, at least where I was, YunYoung, that you would find like a restaurant that catered to like 1 or 2 people. Unless if it was specifically like a pizza joint or
Western joint,
or like places that are trying to mimic Western foods or whatever.
Metaphors
If it was a
for Western individualism.
Dude, we could do a whole thesis on that. But most of the restaurants that were catering towards like the cultural foods were mostly it would really be awkward. You can't really order a meal actually for a I don't know, like you can
single person,
correct me, like you can't really order something for a single if you're gonna be in the shop. Like it's set up to be like you sit around a table, you make the food together, and you had it like, which is really super cool.
Yeah, and a lot of Korean dishes you'll see that it's like little plates, and then everyone shares from that.
Yeah.
Even something like this would be small. Obviously, this is because it's just the main, but this would be one of the little things, and there'd be other things. So everyone would kind of be sharing from the same thing.
Yeah, and the other thing was the flavor. So I did this training program thing where like it's tailored for expats from different parts of the world, and so the language is around like how do you assimilate to Korean culture, and then one of the chapters was food, and they were like, go in with an open mind. It might not be stuff that you're used to, blah, blah, blah. And so I was kind of like going in with like, I hope, you know. And then I get there and I'm like, I love this. Like, this feels like this is, like the flavor profile was so close to what I grew up eating at home. And, you know, so I don't know. It felt like, it was actually so pleasant. And
you even said you didn't miss food from home.
Definitely. When I came back, I struggled to readjust to, just in the sense of just having access to such like amazing food and variety, you know. Yeah, I really, really clearly have enjoyed. That was like the catalyst. But
I'm so excited.
Flavor very similar. Yeah.
And this dish I had also experimented trying. I cooked it for another group, and they responded so positively to it. And I was so surprised because a lot of the times, you know, Korean food is very much like the bulgogi, the sweet soy sauce type barbecue, the easy flavors, you know. But when I made this dish and people responded positively to it, I was like, oh, okay. And I think there's also that connection to Lucky Star that made it also special. So I was like, yeah, this is a dish I want to also make, and because there was a positive, you know, reaction to it. And I think with also Korean food in Cape Town specifically, there is that kind of performative aspect to it. I mean, because it's, you know, as someone who grew up with people saying, ew, what's that? Or, like, you know, teachers would come and look at my food and be like,
100%.
Ew. And then someone just walked out. I was like, ew. You know, I'm feeling so shy. At one point, our school banned us from bringing kimchi to school. I mean, it's quite pungent. Okay, I get it, but also still wet. Ew, what the heck? What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so making this that's not like this easily palatable in my head from what I'm used to was like a challenge also for myself. And now I feel comfortable because it's the second time I've made it. I've also known that, or third time. The first time was at my master's. Second time was for another group, and third time is, but now this third time is like I'm not questioning it. First time I was like, I'm questioning it. Like,
that's so interesting.
yeah, let me just be bold. And then second time I'm like, okay, but that was for that. I was trying to be bold. I'm trying to create like a homey, comfortable space.
This feels like a home meal.
Yeah. So
It definitely does.
Yeah.
It's giving umami.
So I feel like I was lucky enough to be one of the people that got to eat your master's rendition. This was in her master's project.
He made me a kimchi cheese sandwich that day. Can you continue?
No, that was the most beautiful. So here, you must correct me while I'm wrong. You can like have a few bites, but it was the most beautiful exhibition, and it ties completely in. Like I wanted to ask about it because you were talking about how this is like communication with your grandma, and your whole project was about. I still remember the flavor. I remember this flavor, like it was the morning of. Yeah, it was early morning, and it's about intuitive cooking and how it links you to your heritage and memory.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you say, but I don't know what the question is, but
no, that's exactly I think
yeah.
Because again, like food became a language for me. That's why I was thinking, okay, intuitive cooking can help me connect back to pieces of heritage or ancestry that I don't fully know, or that I haven't fully, or I do know, but I need the flavor profiles to describe it, you know?
Wow.
Wild.
To connect back to, for example, like a lot of countries experience war and division and stuff, and flavor is often how we find our way back to even the land itself. And so cooking this for me was like, at that time, you know, missing home, missing grandma, missing my aunts. There's a story where like my grandfather had split from his sisters in North Korea, and then when he moved to South Korea, we weren't able to meet each other. So for me, that was thinking about that story, I was able to look into like North Korean flavor profiles and find like coriander or dania kimchi that exists in North Korea that I didn't even know. And even South Koreans are like, they don't like dania coriander in their food, but in North Korea that is a flavor profile. So something like that, where yes, I'm making something like this following my intuition because I know that it exists from my grandmother, but also doing research to find flavors that exist from that land and add it to my dictionary. Yeah.
Wow.
Sure, that's. I just need a moment to
process. That's
to
spectacular.
just pause on that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, in Korean, after you finish a meal, you say 잘 먹었습니다.
잘
먹었습니다.
Oh, you don't have to do the hands. Sorry, that was the way everyone was like. So you
We
say.
didn't even get there properly. We didn't wait to be told how to say it.
By the way, this is either you're Thai or you're Buddhist.
Well, I love doing this.
So when you were neither, you were just going.
I was just going, but sometimes if I don't want to be spoken to, I'll just be like this, and people are like, oh, no, sorry.
Wow.
Anyways.
Wow.
Stop doing that.
Unpack that.
Yeah, just.
Okay.
So after you eat a meal, you say 잘 먹었습니다. 잘. So JAL. 잘. Come to you, must also try. Yes. So 잘 먹었습니다. 잘 먹었습니다. It means I've eaten well.
Wow. And now we're family.
Yay! 감사합니다.